And then so you have, and the same thing. Tennessee's doing the same exact thing. So these HBCUs are coming together, and what they're doing is they're looking to see how they can kind of advocate to get their just due. So understand that HBCUs have been underfunded. HBCUs have been underfunded for a long time, and completely underfunded in comparison to PWIs when it comes from public universities. Now, as we shift over to football, how like when you think of some of the best play, first of all, the GOAT, the best player ever to play is Jerry Rice, HBCU, Walter Payton, Michael Strahan, Buck Buchanan, Mel Blount, Art Shell, Shannon Sharp, Aeneas Williams, John Starworth, Charlie Joyner, Steve McNair, Doug Williams, Donald Driver, Jimmy Smith, Antonio Bethea, Rasheem Mathis, Jacoby Jones, all went to HBCUs. Now, HBCUs used to have the best talent. They used to have the best talent, and the talent was exceptional there. Now, we think of Coach Paul Bear Bryant, right? One of the best coaches that we consider in college football, coached at Alabama. When he was coaching in the during the 60s and 70s, they used to be a powerhouse. But then what happened was Alabama started sucking. They started pretty much being 500%, 500% every year, and they realized that their talent wasn't there. But what Bear Bryant, the Alabama head coach, right? What he noticed was there was a huge talent difference in these HBCU leagues versus the NCAA, because once again it was still segregated. The blacks couldn't play at PWIs, and the gameplay back then, you got to think 1965. Your parents, you know what I'm saying? Some of your parents were born on that time period, or some of your parents and grandparents played during that, watch football during that time period. Shoot, like you think of Shannon Sharp, he went to HBCU. And this is the only opportunity for some black athletes. Now Shannon Sharp's not that old, right? But this is the opportunity for a lot of black athletes. Was the HBCU, that was it, and the talent level was there. You think of NFL now. NFL now is over 70% African American black. So you have the talent level in college just as good. It was the same. It represented that. And then so what did Bear Bryant do? Bear Bryant then said, hey, you know what? We're not doing well. Let's tap into this talent pool, right? It was a perfect situation for Bryant, to kind of stay on top, help Alabama stay on top. But that also meant that HBCUs were getting decimated because you're taking the talent out. And the idea the HBCUs truly being talented was just a myth, because the talent was getting stripped from the top talent was getting stripped from the HBCUs and going to like these top PWIs who can afford them, who can pay for them, who can give them what they want. So what happened, right? So when Alabama, so when Bryant went out west, he saw the number one team at the time, right? USC had an all-black backfield and a black assistant coach. So USC, when the West is typically, the South was racist back then. The West wasn't that people land on the free, go out west, right? Right? They accepted blacks, on their team, and of course they were better. So understand that. Listen to this, okay? September 12th, 1970, the first integrated football game in Alabama was played between USC and Alabama. The first integrated in 1970. We're talking 53 years ago, right? By the end of the 70s, the recruitment of black players to white universities was no longer an anomaly. It was the blueprint for success. If you want to win, start recruiting black athletes, right? We already know that, right? Like I said, it was on the surface, it was great for PWIs, but for the HBCUs, it was the beginning of a drought.